Many affirm that an image is not enough. A simple photograph does not represent convincing evidence to demonstrate that a mysterious situation or paranormal phenomena has been real. However, the images that you will see today did not come alone, because each one of them hides disturbing stories that you will get to know today. Stories so shocking that they will make even the last hair on your skin stand on end. So stay put, because my name is Leonore Clay, and this is The Darkest Secret. Today we present the 9 most terrible and inexplicable photographs. Number 9. We begin this video with a disturbing photograph that Paola Guerrero, a faithful subscriber, was in charge of sending me to my email. Attached to the email was a message indicating that this image corresponds to that of one of her aunts who, along with her son, had attended the wake of a teacher who had died after a long illness. A photograph that was taken just before leaving, so they didn't get to see it until days later. The young man received the image on his WhatsApp, leaving him completely frozen by what could be seen in it. You can see the strange thing that occurs here, right? Where does that hand come from? That is the question that both he and his mother asked themselves. According to our subscriber, her relatives were never in the company of someone at that moment. Absolutely no one was behind them. So what you see on the screen was quite disturbing. Whose hand could it be? Will it correspond to the spirit of that teacher? Tell me what you think. Number 8. The following is a strange image taken some years ago by Jean Paul's brother. One of our subscribers from Chile says that his brother occasionally walks through one of the oldest churches in the country. He did not want to miss the opportunity to take several photographs to keep as a souvenir. It was in one of them where the camera of his cell phone captures what at first sight is simply impossible. Observe. It looks like a humanoid figure that appears with open arms, as if they were wings. At one point, I thought that perhaps it could have been some sort of kite, in the form of a person. But the boy replied, saying that his brother did not remember seeing anything in the sky. He also sent me the details of the photograph where you can see the time that both photos were taken. Both were taken at the same time. How can something disappear from the sky so fast? According to Jean Paul, his brother confessed to him that this series of images were taken in a lapse of less than 5 seconds. And out of all of them, only in one this being appears. which would indicate that it crossed the sky extremely fast. So much so that nobody noticed its presence until they saw these images. What do you think that is? Leave it in the comments. Number 7. According to historical records from the 1850s and 1860s, photographers began to experiment with various optical effects, and one of them was the renowned photographer Orrin Jeffries, who back in 1895 was capturing images inside an unmapped area of the Grand Caverns in southwestern Virginia. It was during one of those days that he heard something approaching from the deepest recesses of the cave. Frightened, Jeffries fled the scene, leaving his camera behind. When he returned days later to retrieve the device, this was one of the images he captured while in that place. I remind you that the cavern was completely dark, so it was thanks to his experiments that Jeffries obtained this image of the interior, and in which you can see a group of 3 beings who stare at the lens of the camera. Watch with color correction. A historical recording that for many marked the beginning of what the photographs were, whose images have no explanation. Could it be creatures that inhabited these caves? Could they continue to inhabit them today? Tell me, what do you think? Number 6. Strange and even terrifying photos like the ones you just saw in the previous post are one thing, a fear that comes from the inexplicable. But a terrifying photo is quite another, because of the context in which it was taken. There are many who think that what is terrifying does not lie in the paranormal and inexplicable, but on the contrary, what is truly terrifying and creepy lives with us daily, sheltering in what we are, our human nature. And proof of this lies in the following image, whose story is extremely heartbreaking. Do you recognize this photo? Here, you can even use the meme of Mr. Incredible to represent those who do not know this story, and those who do. You see, the young woman on the screen is Regina K. Walters, an American student who in February 1990 disappeared with her boyfriend. For a time, she was intensely searched for, without finding traces of her, until after some time, and after an exhaustive investigation, the agents captured Robert Ben Rhodes, a truck driver who took both Regina and her boyfriend as passengers who were heading to Mexico. The young people never imagined that this good man would be a true psychopath. Rhodes used to travel around the country as a driver of an 18-wheeler, which was equipped with a torture chamber in the back. First, he killed the young man and took Regina to a farm where he cut her hair, and then took that picture of her. This would be the last recording of her, before Rhodes murdered her in the most horrifying and twisted way that a human being could have in his mind. A face full of terror that at that moment, and according to what the subject declared when he was captured, he already knew what his terrible way of dying was going to be. Robert Ben Rhodes is currently serving a double life sentence in a Texas jail, not only for the crime of Regina and her boyfriend, but for multiple murders he committed in this truck for more than a decade without anyone knowing anything, until this young woman's crime occurred. A crime that was immortalized in this shocking photograph that to this day continues to sting. Number 5. The young woman you see in the image has plenty of reasons to celebrate. It was the end of the academic year at their university, and they had all successfully passed their final exams. More than enough reason to take a well-deserved break in a nearby bar. They spent a pleasant moment together within dances, lights, and of course, plenty of alcohol. A moment they wanted to immortalize in the image you are seeing. They seemed to be happy, without imagining that the creepiest thing would appear right next to them, and would not be noticed until several days later. After reviewing the images, they realized that especially in this one, there was a strange hand that clearly does not belong to any of them. It seems to be the hand of a man, a bruised hand. It even gives the impression that it was bloody. The girls tell me that when they noticed this figure, a gigantic fear embraced them, since they believed that there was a stranger who was so close to them, and they didn't even notice it. That is why one of them believes that he was not a person of flesh and blood. Who did that hand belong to? Why did it have that disturbing aspect? Questions that none of them has been able to answer. Number 4. The saying is well known. Reality is stranger than fiction. And it is that many times reality can be much crueler. The man you see on the screen now is Ed Gein, a serial killer better known as the Butcher of Plainfield. According to his own statements, at night he raided cemeteries in order to obtain the fresh bodies of recently deceased people. And with this, he made all his macabre imagination sprout. Position number 4 of this investigation is dedicated to all the orbs, if you can call it that, of Ed Gein. When the authorities inspected his farm, their eyes found something that they could not believe. Sofas, lamps, chairs made with human skin, bowls of soup made with human skulls, and cutlery, among a series of the most terrible things you can imagine. Number 3. Some teenagers in love posted this photo on Twitter. Everything normal until the comments of his friends began to go crazy. In the background of this image, in the mirror, you can witness something impossible, something that caused this image to quickly go viral several years ago. In the place where the back of his head should be, his face appears, and this time, laughing. Something very similar happened to this couple, where you can witness the same effect. Obviously, they must be fake photos, but to this day, no one has been able to find evidence of this in the pixels of each image. Number 2. The following corresponds to a disturbing photo made by a security camera installed outside of a zoo. It was early in the morning so there was almost no staff in the area, for the same reason that highlights how odd something was captured in here. Observe. What could that be? His snout, fur, and ears indicate that we are clearly in the presence of an animal, but the shape of his body is quite strange. It does not seem to be a dog or a wolf standing on its hind legs, but the sensation is that it is walking upright through that area. In addition, this image was taken inside a zoo at times when it should be completely closed. The most disturbing thing is that it was found prowling around the herbivores area. But the most surprising of all is that according to workers, they have found animals extremely stressed for no reason, as if they had faced a predator. So there are a few who indicate that this creature could be the mythical being known as the chupacabra, in search of prey to feed on. Do you think this is the creature that was captured by the camera lens? Could there be any other explanation? Comment below. Number 1. In World War II, many atrocities occurred that, although to this day they continue to be talked about, there is a particular story that has not been given the prominence it deserves. This post is dedicated to showing the supposed real images of what is known, such as the flying of Kiev. In 1939, a small war broke out between Russia and Finland, which was called the Winter War. The Soviet army wanted to invade Finland, but could not follow the official route as they might be discovered. That is how they decided to cross through a thick forest that had a terrible story behind it. According to the locals, there lived a monster that mutilated people. Obviously, the Russian army ignored this story and went into the forest. A few days later, the Finns got word of this invasion, so they went into the forest too. It was there that they found a platoon of the Soviet army mutilated, mangled, and skinned. The most popular photograph of this incident is one where it is possible to observe the skin of a Soviet soldier hanging from a tree. Unfortunately, due to YouTube policies, I cannot show it to you. But if you want to know more about this incident, they call it the Ivilo Monster Incident. No one knows for sure what happened. Leave your conclusions in the comment box, because this video has already come to an end. My name is Leonore Clay, and this was The Darkest Secret.